All right, sit down.
That's worse than Bob Ross.
Stop.
Yeah,
Stop.
that's worse than Bob Ross.
Stop. Now, we are starting Bible story time. Sit down, calm down, focus.
Is that video on?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we're going to continue reading in the Sermon on the Mount. Instead of reading that out of the Read and Learn Bible, we're just going to read. We're going to read it. We're going to read it straight out of the text. I think that you guys can understand what Jesus is saying, so we're just going to read what Jesus says. Last time we talked about different things that Jesus says that are called the beautitudes, because he starts off saying, "Blessed are." And in Latin, when something is blessed, you see the word, it looks like beautiful, right? So beatitude. The people who are blessed do this. So Jesus says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are those who mourn, blessed are the meek, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, blessed are the merciful, blessed are the pure in heart, blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. Blessed are you when others revile you and say bad things about you." So do you think that in that list that you can just pick one of those things?
No.
And you can say, well, I'm going to be merciful, but I'm not going to be pure in heart. And I don't have to be pure in heart because I'm just going to be merciful, and then I will be blessed. Is that what Jesus means when he's going through all that?
No.
Greg, do you have to have some of those things or all of them? All of them. Yeah. It would be like if you can think of maybe if you're on like a cable car and you're going down a mountain and they tell you if you don't climb out the window, you won't fall. And if you don't open the door while we're going down, you won't fall. And if you don't cut a hole in the floor, you won't fall. And they list a few things, and then you say, well, I'm not going to cut a hole in the bottom of the cable car, but I'm jumping through that door. And since I won't fall through the hole in the bottom of the cable car, I'll be okay. Will that work out for you?
The end.
Yeah, that would not be good.
Because the end is very, very, very painful.
Yeah.
Dad, you can just jump into someone else's car.
Somebody else's cable car? You try that. Let me know how it works. Lily Bud. Lily, come here. Zane, do not manhandle the baby.
Into a funny book.
Come here.
Sorry.
Okay, so we're going to continue looking at what Jesus says. Children, everybody, right now, listen to me. What did I tell you about handling the baby? Do not do it. Do not force her to do things. She has to learn to obey. Do you understand? Thank you. You do not force anybody to do anything in this house. If anyone is going to be doing forcing, it will be me or your mother. Not you all. Do you understand? Thank you. Would you like to sit on the ground? No, you want to sit with me? You got to sit somewhere.
I can take her to bed.
Here you go. Give me a hug.
I'll put her to bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Net?
Come on, I got your net.
Mama.
Listen. Okay, so we're going to keep reading. Jesus just told us how we ought to be. And then he says, you are the salt of the earth, the salt of the land. When he's reading through this and you see the word earth, he really is saying the word land. Don't do that, and let's sit like a lady. Okay? That's sit like a lady. Look at how he is sitting. Okay, thank you. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its taste, how shall the saltiness be restored? Now, we don't have the kind of salt that they did because we have very, very purified salt. They had salt. I've told you how to sit twice. Do it. I will not ask you again. Do you understand? Thank you. Their salt was very rough, and it could stop being salty. And then it would be kind of like eating sand. Yeah. What do you think it would be like if you put sand in your food?
Taste.
I have never heard anybody say, this soup is good, but it needs more sand. Have you ever heard that? Never. Never have I heard that. Yeah, and that's what Jesus is saying. If your salt turns into sand, what is it good for?
Nothing.
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 Just throw it out.
You throw it out on the ground, right?
You can build
So,
a sandcastle.
He said, you are the salt of the land. Now, if you are the salt of the land, what is he saying will happen if you stop being salt?
It'll be flavorless.
What will happen to you?
You'll be thrown out.
You'll be thrown out, and you'll be tread underfoot. So this is a picture of judgment, isn't it? Jesus is telling the Israelites, if you don't do what God has asked you to do, you will be
Thrown out.
judged. Please pay attention. It is a silly insect. This is eternal. That will be dead in 2 days. This is eternal. Pay attention. All right. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. So, amongst all the nations in the world, who did God give the law? Stevie?
Israel?
Israel. And did he tell them that would make them special?
Yes, he did.
Yes. And when people saw them, don't cover his face. When people saw them, what would they say? They would say, what other nation is there whose God has given them a law like that?
No.
Gregory, come here. Right? So Israel's job was to follow God, to be faithful to God, and while Israel was faithful to God, the rest of the world would see the things that Israel did and say, there is a God in Israel. This happened, didn't it, with Nebuchadnezzar? When Daniel was faithful to God, what happened? Zane?
And during Jericho, Rahab mentions, the elders of our city have heard how your God parted the river and killed all the Egyptians.
That's right, but that's not what happened when Daniel was faithful.
Oh, sorry.
Stephen?
He sent a decree out to all the nations and all the provinces under him, declaring that Daniel's God was the one true God.
Exactly. What happened with King Cyrus? Zane?
I was also going to say something about King Nebuchadnezzar.
All right, we've moved on. Cyrus?
Sorry.
Stevie?
Same thing.
The same thing. So these Gentile nations see the things that some Israelite does, and they say, this is the God that you're looking for. Right? So that's what Jesus is saying. If you don't have to do any amazing thing. You be faithful. God will do the amazing things. You be faithful. So if they're faithful to God, then God does amazing things, and people can see, and they're like, that's the God we want. Zane, what were you going to say about Nebuchadnezzar?
He was so inspired. He was the only king to ever write a chapter in the Bible.
That's right.
He wrote a chapter in the Bible.
Nebuchadnezzar, some of the things that he wrote are in the Bible.
Did Daniel? I think it's like Daniel chapter 1.
We can look it up later, but Nebuchadnezzar's writings are in the Bible. Okay? So let's keep reading. We're almost done for tonight. So he says, do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I've not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. So Jesus is teaching some things that are different from what everybody has heard. The people during Jesus' day, we call them Judaizers. They were teaching stuff that wasn't right. It sounded like it was the law. Like they could go to the law and they could pull what they believed out of it. But what they were teaching wasn't what God originally gave to the Hebrews. So when Moses first gets the law, it will look different than the people who were alive during the time of Jesus. So Jesus comes to these people who, were they alive when Moses got the law? No. Right? Moses got the law like 1,450 years ago when Jesus is born. There is nobody who was alive then. Okay? Okay? Okay. Have you ever been to ancient Rome?
No.
No?
No, because it's ancient.
Yeah, because it was from like 1,500 years ago. right? About when it fell. It's a little over 1,500 years ago. Did you know the distance between Jesus and Moses is the same as the distance between you and ancient Rome? Pretty crazy, huh? That's how far away they were. Has society changed any?
Yes.
Since the time of ancient Rome?
Yes.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. So do you think their society and culture changed any from the time of Moses to the time of Jesus?
No.
Just a little bit. Yeah. So
Just a little.
the teachers, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, all those people who were alive during the time of Jesus, they were teaching something different than what God originally came. And when Jesus comes, Jesus, does he say, well, let's just keep doing what y'all are doing. It's good enough. What does he say? He says, we're going to go back. And we're actually going to look at what the law says. And we're actually going to do what the law says. Right, Gregors? Are we going to do what the law says? Yep. Are we going to listen to Moses? Hey, Gregory, was Jesus telling these people to listen to Moses? Yes. Was he telling them to listen to the prophets? Yes. And did Jesus say the law and the prophets testify about who? God. Yeah, well, Jesus, yeah. Right? So Jesus, he says, I didn't come to abolish the law, I came to fulfill the law. There are things that God said he was going to do, and Jesus says, I'm coming to do them. And you may think that I'm changing things, but I'm not. It's you guys who change stuff. And that's why when people would come and ask Jesus questions, he didn't say, well, I think this is a good idea. Could he have said that? Yes. How come he could have said that? He is God. And if God says, I think this is how you should do things, is that normally right? Yes.
Always right.
Yes. Right. So Jesus could have said, well, I think you should do it this way. But Jesus didn't. Jesus said, what did he say? When somebody would come and ask him a question, what would Jesus say? Kaya, what would he say? They don't know the answer. Don't look at them.
I do.
Look at me. Look at me. What would he say? Not specific words, you don't say. He did. He would say, repent, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Well, where did he tell them to look for their answer? The Bible. Right? He would say, it is written. Or, how does it read to you? Or, do you know about the passage that says? So Jesus pointed people back to the book, back to the law of Moses, back to the prophets, back to the writings. Everything was back to what God said. And that forced people to deal with it. Right? So we'll pick up with that next time. But if you want to be salty, where does the way you live need to come from? From what God says. If you want to be a light, where does how you shine need to come from? From what God says. Alright, so we'll pick up with that next time. Yes, ma'am. No, don't be silly. Alright? Greg, how are we going to pray? What kind? Circle prayer? Alright, come on, you going to hold my hand?
You're holding your hand.
Well, he's going to hold my hand. I already asked him. Alright. Stevie, you want to pray?
Yes, sir. Our Father in heaven, thank you for all the things you've given us. Thank you for our friends and our family. We thank you for your word, the Bible, and for the food and drink you've given us today. We thank you for people like Mom who take care of other people and who do such a good job of taking care of us. We thank you for Mom and Dad who do everything for us. And we thank you for people like Dad who spread your word. It's in your name we pray. Amen.